and it's about letting people know that it's okay not to be okay. And that's why it's really important, especially for us Pacifica people. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay if you're not well. It's important for them to also realise that they can be the change, but really the secret lies with them.
Talo Falava, welcome to PEP Talk, where we amplify, elevate and celebrate the voices of purpose-empowered people. And this morning we're really happy to be with Karen Daniels. Kia ora, Karen.
Kia ora.
Karen, it's so great to have you, and we're just looking forward to learning a little bit more about who you are and what you do. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your amazing business?
Oh, okay. Well, yes, kia ora everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to actually be here and just share a few of my thoughts and my experiences. So I'm a mother of two. I have a son who is 23 years old and a daughter who is 15 years old, and both are still at home with me. I'm a solo mum, and I also look after my elderly mum as well. I'm of Cook Island descent, so I come from an island, Puka Puka, which is in the northern part of the Cook Islands, and I've spent most of my career as a health and safety practitioner for the last 15 years, and I've spent most of my career also in the governance space, sitting on various boards, school boards, health and safety boards, etc. And I've also been studying quite a bit as well. So I'm currently studying my master's, trying to finish my master's in sport, exercise and health. And I've also training to be a health coach, specialising in mental health. And so I guess for me to talk about my business, I think it's important to understand where I've come from and what drove me to where I am today. And yes, so I've worked in the private sector, and then I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer in 2019. And so my doctor said that I had like a 50-50 chance of survival, even with treatment. And so, yes, that was a huge journey for me, and for anyone that has gone through cancer, it's not the most pleasant. And so, by God's grace, I'm still living and breathing today. I realize that, God has preserved my life. He's got a plan for my life, and He's got a purpose for my life. And so I went through all the treatment, for just over a year, just before COVID hit, actually. And, I had a whole year at home in isolation while I was going through chemotherapy, just to reflect. What do I want to do with my life after this? Why? Because when I was told that I had cancer, I was young. I was only in my early 40s. Even my doctor thought, how can you have it? But breast cancer is actually really common for women in New Zealand. And I, did all the treatment, and that year that I was at home isolating, it really gave me a lot of time with the Lord, because prior to my sickness, my life was all about me, and it was less about my family, and God wasn't in my life at all. And so on reflection, my sickness the cancer journey that I went through, it was a blessing in disguise. It really was, because it virtually changed my life around. So I've gone from being, like a self-centered person, driven by money, doing this and that. It was all, to now living a purpose-driven life, and that is to help people in the community. And that is why I, decided, what? I'm going to take this big, bold step and set up my own little business,
Right.
I've always been interested in health and well-being, always. Even when I was in the health and safety space, has always been my underlying passion. It's such a broad area. What do I do? Where do I start? And so it's been festering. My passion's been there. And so after my cancer treatment, I was just inspired by other women that, were going through the same journey as me. And, we were able to, just share our experiences. And, God opened the door for me to be able to do what I'm doing now. And in actual fact, when I was going through my treatment, one of my prayers to God was, look, Lord, if you preserve my life, I promise that I will serve you and the community right up until my last breath. And that's why, I'm here today. I'm here to glorify our God. I'm here to be used as his vessel in whatever way. And so God has always now been the center ever since of my life, and has orchestrated, all these opportunities and so forth. And I'm just really, really excited that, that I've only recently just starting to set up my business called Thrivetogether,
Love it.
Mind Your Health. And I came up with that because I think with anything, we can't live this life on our own. We can't fix things on our own, And I was thinking about this really good quote that the late Professor Collins mentioned before he passed away. And this is what really summarizes why I do the work that I do. And he said, no one stands alone, no one succeeds alone, no one suffers alone. And that is like the foundation of Thrive Together, is that, I can't do this work on my own. And the reason why I've also included Mind Your Health as part of my business logo is because I'm really, really interested in the mental health space. And as you know, mental health is a growing concern globally and especially within New Zealand. And it's a need. And it's especially a need it's a need for anybody, really, isn't it? Mental health affects anyone. It doesn't matter what your age is, what your ethnicity is, what your background is. And so that basically, that is how I,
Karen, what an inspiration. What I really picked up on what you were just sharing is that time of reflection. That reflection when you were diagnosed and it was a whole year to yourself, and really looking at life and what really matters. Mm-hmm. Like you said, often sometimes it takes a real like a disaster or bad news or something that could potentially shorten our lives to actually pay attention to, for us to actually pay attention to what really matters in life. Mm. So in that 1 year of reflection, knowing that you were diagnosed and also saying that you were always interested in health and well-being, what are some of the things that have now come to fruition since since that time of reflection?
Well, I've recently just started getting into that community workspace. So now I'm currently a community health educator.
Nice.
And a qualified home performance advisor. This whole year I've been running a couple of mental health courses. So I'm an associate director for Nedley Health Depression and Anxiety Recovery Program, and also Optimize Your Brain. Both mental health courses, both focus on various things, and I've been running them since late October last year, and it's been a real blessing to be able to meet new participants, and it's all about, the courses are all about just teaching people what are the lifestyle habits that actually harm your brain, because the brain, the mind is really important, because that's where all the decisions are made. It's like the control unit of our body. If that's not under control, then of course there's an on-flow effect. The body follows where the mind goes, wherever the mind goes. So in the courses, the participants learn, okay, what are all the different unhealthy lifestyle habits that harm and destroy the brain. It talks about the different research as well behind, to support what they're saying. And then most of the course teaches the participants healthy lifestyle strategies and tools. And some of them are just as simple as during the course, I give them a weekly scorecard which I have to fill every week, and on the scorecard there is a whole list of little goals, activities that they have to do, very simple activities. The course is very holistic, addresses underlying causes, and things like drinking enough water, exercising, avoid negative speech, giving gratitude is really important as well. Omega-3, including omega-3, so there's a nutrition component in the course.
Fish and eggs and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so with these two courses, the Nedley Health, they were both developed by Dr. Neil Nedley, and so he promotes plant-based foods. Yes, and so he'll talk about the non-plant-based foods and the negative effects that it has on the body. So the beauty of these courses is that, I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist. I'm simply providing education, and that is what our communities need. They need education so that they can make well-informed decisions for their health. And so, the course, there's a lot of info that they have to do, but I recognise that, especially with Pacifica communities, it's just not enough to just provide information and then you walk away and then I see them the next week. So I've added like a midweek field trip, and this is where we do nature walks. We're starting to put some of the practical stuff that they're learning in their course into practice. As the course encourages learning, because when we're learning new things, it's actually growing and strengthening our frontal lobe of the brain, one of the important parts of the brain. And so we've done museum trips, we've gone to the Auckland Central Library, and really encouraging them to take up reading, because a lot of our people don't read.
Do you think that's because mostly our Pacific cultures are very oral? We tend to speak a lot and talk a lot. We just share, a lot of our culture is through singing and dancing and collective, group activities. So when it comes to library, unless you're a student or you're at school, it's probably the last time I've been to a library. Well, we have to actually, because we're studying later on in life. But
I think that has a part to do with it as well, especially for the older generation. And I think part of it is to do with their education experiences that they've had in high school or tertiary, and it may not have been a positive one. You know, some of our participants didn't really finish high school, and so taking them to the library, you know, the biggest library in Auckland. It's an amazing space to go to, you know, taking them there and just encouraging them, look, take a book, find something that you're interested in. Not me telling you, okay, I want you to get a book on planes, and they're not interested in planes. And so we've done other trips like eating at Revive Cafe, which is a really nice plant-based cafe in the city. We even did Japanese cooking class. And they loved it. And once again, in the course they learn about the importance of working with your hands. The more we work with our hands, the more we strengthen our frontal lobe. There's science behind it, but we'll be here all day if I were to go through all of that. So the Wednesday, the Wednesday field trips, I recognise, it's really important that we have that practical element. Now, some people that are suffering with depression and anxiety, they just want to isolate themselves in their homes, in their rooms, all day, all night, and they don't want to interact with anyone, talk to anyone, and they're more likely to talk to people online. And so forth. And so this is why I introduced the Wednesday field trip, is to bring them out of their houses and get them to connect with other people. And what brings joy to my heart is to see them interacting, getting to know each other, and laughing with each other, eating with each other, and they're making new friends. And now, even though we've finished the courses, they've all swapped numbers, and they're keeping in touch. So I've been really, really busy, running the mental health courses, and you know what? It's just really identified that it's really important. This work is needed in our community. You just don't know what people are going through. I had no idea. A few of my friends have done the depression anxiety course, and I had no idea they were actually going through it. So we don't know. And so I, for them, it's a blessing. So I've been doing a lot of that this year, and also doing, some other community house projects, some community projects as well, going into people's homes and doing home assessments and really seeing the reality of how people live, the poverty that people live with, and that's really heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, especially because you mentioned that you're from the private sector. And then now you're a community consultant, leader in the space, especially doing and really having that close proximity to the grassroots community. As you know, it's very different when you're in private sector, right? Because you don't really take the time to get to know people, and then exactly what you just said, finding out exactly what the reality is of people's lives once you obviously earn the trust. Could you talk a little bit about the values that your business, because this podcast is about purpose empowered people. I know that you just mentioned earlier as well in your introduction that you're purpose driven. Everything that you do, your prayer to God about, when you were going through the diagnosis, a very, very challenging time. So how do you marry up, or how do you incorporate your values into your business? It sounds like you're expressing them already, but if you can touch a little bit about on that would be great.
Sure. So I'm a Christian as well. And for me, having Christian values has to underpin whatever I do, whether that be business, personal, every aspect of my life. And I think about Galatians, the fruits of the spirits. You know, these are really, really good characteristics that all of us should experience and all of us should have. You know, life, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. They should form the foundation. You know, all of those characteristics. And when it comes to love, you know, we all have different definitions of love. But for me, if I think from a spiritual perspective, love to me is not the kind of love that humans kind of defined it. You know, humans look at love as something physical. You know, but the love that I'm talking about for other people when we're serving others is a godly love. You know, when you look at Christ and what he did while he was on this earth so many years ago, he spent most of his ministry, all of his ministry, in the community, serving people, and so it has to be love that is unconditional, non-judgmental love. And the work that I'm in, I have to show that I'm not judging. People have to feel safe in the space that I'm providing for them. And it's not just love with words, it's love with action as well. Absolutely. So, you know, being prepared to be able to go the whole way for people. You know, not just stopping at, okay, I'm just going to stop here because, you know, this is all I'm getting paid for. Is actually, no, you know, when we're looking at changing people's behaviour, which is the work that I'm in, it's a life's journey. And so the other kind, the other thing about love, it has to be self-sacrificing. And so, you know, it's not being centered. Love shouldn't be centered around what you want, what I want, what I think. It's what others need, and you know, and it's sharing that kind of community love. It's having the other values, is having that servant mindset and leadership. So that is putting myself last. Put God first, others second, and myself last.
I like how you say it's servant leadership, because you are leading people from a place where they are, and they may be initially like unwilling to go somewhere else, but you're actually taking them somewhere, but you're doing it in a servant way, like you're there to serve them, not to just boss them around.
Yeah.
How does that kind of play out?
Well, you have to have a degree of humility, which is another important value. Without humility, you know, I mean, the opposite of humility is pride, arrogance, you know. And so, yeah, the other value that I like is vulnerability. Really just putting your soul out there, not being afraid to leave yourself open, not being afraid to share even some of the trauma, because you don't know how your past experiences will help others. So servant leadership to me is not just about leading from the front, you know, showing people this is a direction that you could go down, but it's also leading from the back, leading from the side, so that they are, so as to avoid them falling, you know, from going to the left or to the right. So and so, yeah, so the vulnerability piece is also important, because people need to see the real you. If I were to just go into this community work space and, you know, I'm just faking it, people can see, they can read you, they're like a book. And so people need to see the real you. And for me, I'm passionate. I love being around people. You know, I love hearing their stories. I love helping people. And so people need to feel that you're relatable and you're relevant, obviously. And, you know, we all have our stories. We all have our life stories that have helped us to shape who we are today. And the last value is gratitude. I think it's really, really important for us to always be grateful and thankful and content with whatever we have, regardless of what our status may be in life, But, for me as a Christian, it's important for me to give thanks and praise to God, because it is Him that has allowed me to be here doing this podcast with you all, and just praise Him for the wonderful things that He has done in my life, that He's doing in the present, and that He's about to do in my life.
Awesome. I love what you're saying about, being present, being authentic, being vulnerable. And I suspect that it's not always an easy thing for everybody to actually be vulnerable, because if we look around, in society, it's about being strong. It's about being, stiff upper lip if you're from the UK, or, depending on what culture you come from. So really, really love that you are sharing about just even how you were opening up earlier about your diagnosis, with breast cancer. Not everybody actually wants to say something like that. They feel like a failure, or they feel like, just not everybody is, perhaps comfortable with that. So really, I love how you are living your purpose fully, 100%. That you're not leaving anything on the table, so to speak. You really are authentically, bringing all of yourself into your work. And I'm wondering about the impact that you like to see, because you mentioned about that your part of your work is that you're also wanting to help people change their behavior. So can you talk a little bit about the impact, or the ultimate change, the outcome of what would that look like when someone comes and they spend this amazing time with you? They learn how to cook Japanese, they go on nature walks. What would be sort of your celebration or gratitude from when they actually come through the other end?
Yeah, that's a really good question for me. Seeing the change and really just having the privilege of being on that journey with them throughout the course, and just seeing the positive transformational changes in their life and their stories that they're sharing. And some of them would upload, their walks, their nature walks, or the foods that they've made, or the activities that they've been learning, from the course. They would upload it on their social media.
Great.
And so they're just, and they're feeling encouraged because people are encourage them on their journey. So, I've had really good feedback, from all of the participants. One in particular, who shall remain anonymous. This person, was looking for answers, and who had been suffering from anxiety and depression, and had been looking for answers, had tried the clinical solution. It didn't really work for this person until this person had done the depression and anxiety course, and was just, I guess, their reaction as well. I didn't know any of this stuff. I wish I had known this stuff before. Now I can think through things systematically, and so forth. And it's about letting people know that it's okay not to be okay. And that's why it's really important, especially for us Pacifica people. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay if you're not well, and for them to feel that there is a space that they can go into where they can feel supported, and just really taking them on that journey of exploring healthier alternative lifestyle practices. So and it's important for them to also realize that they can be the change, but really the secret lies with them, and it doesn't. The power lies, but it's giving them the tools and the strategies. And one of the things that they have to do every day is listen to classical music. Now, classical music is not like when you tell a Pacifica person,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you'll listen to, you know, up to 60 minutes of classical music, you know, a day or something. And they're giving me this sideway look. But, you know, Dr. Nedley in his video lecture talks about the benefits of classical music and why it's important for the brain. And so, but you know, they may start with this at the beginning of the course with, what is this crazy stuff that we have to do? But by the end of the course, they're loving classical music. They're listening to classical music in the car. Next thing you know, their whole family is listening to classical music, do you know? So it doesn't just become just an individual transformation. It actually has an on-flow effect, you know, with their families.
Yeah, very cool. Now, Karen, in your travels, do you find that there's a certain demographic, like youth, that are actually suffering more from mental health, or is it sort of like across all ages?
What I found this year, it's across all ages. I'd love to do some work in the high school, tertiary space. But yeah, it's definitely, even with older, you know, the older age bracket, yeah, it's a huge impact. And this is what I mean, you know, we just assume, oh yeah, you know, they look okay on the outside, but honestly, you know, and even, you know, I mean, you don't, to do the course that I'm running, the depression anxiety one, you don't necessarily need to be going through depression and anxiety. It's the lifestyle strategies and tools that are practical, that are holistic, that are simple and easy to do.
And it sounds like for all age groups, you don't have to be a certain age group to do the course that you're doing.
Yeah, high school, I think, that senior level high school, age group upwards. Yeah.
Okay. When you look back, because, you know, I love the first part of reflection, but when you look back and you think about who you are like now compared to your younger self, what were some of the hang-ups that you would, you know, really, like, you know, when you're young, you just sort of like, you think the whole world's going to end, you know, when your hair's not going straight, it's supposed to be curly, or your eyelash, you know, like the things that teenagers or young adults go through now, that you look back and think, oh my goodness, you know. What were some of the things that you would sort of pick up on, that, you know, that you would say to your younger self, your advice to someone, you know, hearing this message, because this is such a timely message for the times that we're in. It's such a very, I don't know about, I mean, I think we're in our 50s or late 40s, but we didn't have social media. You know, we didn't have social media and all the pressure of being on, and we didn't have cell phones, without sounding like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
But what would you say, you know, to your younger self, that compared to what you're sharing today?
I think one thing is get involved in something. Get involved in the community. Don't restrict yourself. You know, don't limit yourself. You know, there's so many, these endless opportunities out there. I think it's important to get involved in something, especially volunteering or whatever, or whether it's your own Pacifica community, because it teaches you the things that I'm doing now. And it's really important as well to be surrounded by the right people.
Operative word is the right people.
The right people.
Not any people.
Yeah, the right people. And I say that because I am the way that I am today. You know, I love public speaking. I love working in that, you know, working with people, around people, talking to people. I love doing leadership stuff, you know. The reason why I say it's important that to have the right influences around you is because, you know, I grew up in the community watching my dad, who was a community leader for many, many decades. And, you know, here is a man that did not finish primary school, but I was in awe of, wow, how does he, you know, he's doing speeches without written notes. Like, I have to have notes. But my dad, you know, he can just speak off the cuff. And I'm just like in awe. And see, that's a gift.
Yes.
Not everyone can do that. And then just even his delivery and how he comes across, how he delivers his speech, his words. It's like he has gone to no school. He hasn't gone to any school to learn any of this technical stuff. You know, it's a God-given gift. And so I grew up in the community, and this is why I encourage especially young people, get involved in your community, because little did I know as I was growing up, I'm actually learning. I'm learning from my father. I'm learning leadership. I'm learning how to interact and communicate with people. I'm learning how to treat people. I'm learning public speaking. I'm learning, you know, all of these skills that I didn't know that would become useful for the work that I'm doing now. And see, this is what young people can learn when they're going to these community events. They may think it's boring. They may think, oh my goodness, these old people talk for ages, on and on. But in actual fact, it's really has helped shape me. So the other thing is, be bold. Don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. It's a little bit challenging when you're a young person, you know. But, you know, I used to be an extremely shy person before I went to university. Some decades ago. But you know, through work, you know, I was thrown into the deep end and I got into public speaking. I didn't realize that I could actually do public speaking. So don't be afraid to try new things. Step out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to fail. Because, you know, some of our successes come about or occur because of our failures in life. And don't be afraid of all of that. You know, be assertive. You know, you have a voice. Use your voice. And, you know, you're always going to have naysayers. You're always going to have people that has their own opinion. That's fine. You know, let them have their opinion. Be that kind of person where, you know, you're fair, you're balanced, you're open to listening to opinions, even though you may not agree. You know, and this is where the values come into play. Non-judgmental, humility, you know, and so forth. Being kind and being respectful as well. And just let people see the real you. Don't pretend to be someone else. Or, you know, you can have role models. Like my dad was my role model, my human role model. You know, ultimately Christ is my role model. But because, you know, in life we try to find who we really are and what we really want to do. It's taken me many years to get to this point. And but, you know, not being afraid to do new things, and not being afraid to show people who you really are. But then at the same time, being humble enough to take constructive feedback, you know, and because it's all a part of learning and growing.
Absolutely.
And we need that constructive feedback. You may not necessarily agree with it, and you know, because, you know, the work that I do, people have to be able to relate to me.
Yeah.
They have to see that I actually genuinely care about them.
That you really care.
That I want, you know, I want, you know, to do whatever I can to help them. And so, and the other thing is, not being afraid to ask for help. It's okay, you know, you don't, it's you know, that shouldn't be a setback. It shouldn't be seen as a failure that I've got to ask for help because, you know, for this, you know, financial reasons, whatever it is. For, you know, if we want to progress in life, we need to learn to work collaboratively. We need to learn to network with others. We need to learn to, it's hard for a young person to connect. I mean, they can do it amongst their own peers, you know, but I think connecting like us as adults in that community space, it's just coming out of your comfort zone, because I've always been an introvert, but if you're doing this community work, you've got to come out of your comfort zone, and eventually you're on that spectrum where you're kind of floating between introvert and extrovert and so forth. So those are some of the things that
Wow.
I would suggest.
Yeah, I absolutely love the variety of advice. Your father, your dad being, and I love how you highlighted that, he didn't go to university, but he absolutely held it, as an orator when he was speaking in the community, and that we don't need to look far for good role models. Sometimes they're already, whether they're in our churches or in our families. So I just you've provided a holistic, a lot of array of advice and things that have actually helped you on your journey. So, and look at you, you're an introvert and an extrovert. You're also starting your business, and I remember when we were in the cafe, you were going, sometimes our Pacifica community are a little bit shy. We don't really want to put ourselves out there or speak about what we do. So thank you so much for coming on our podcast, Karen. We absolutely love the work that you do. It's all heart, spirit, everything, 100%. Your vulnerable self, authentic, and we wish you all the very, very best for 2025. Now, before we go, tell us a little bit about your business. Where can we find you, or when is the next course, or how can people reach out?
I haven't got a website.
Not yet.
Not yet. So that's something that I'm wanting to work on. But by all means, get in touch with Marie and Simon, and they'll be able to pass on, my details. Hopefully, they'll be able to put some of my details on their website as well for now.
Yes,
in this very episode.
Yes,
for sure.
So we'll have all the transcript and all the key things that you've highlighted, so that people can also take that away as well. So absolutely.
And for those listening to the audio version of this podcast, the email address is, correct me if this is wrong, thrivetogether@outlook.co.nz.
That's right.
Oh, awesome.
thrivetogether@outlook.co.nz. Okay, just want to repeat that, but we'll also have that in the show notes as well. And was there anything else that you'd like to share, Karen, before we sign off?
No, I just want to say thank you so much to both of you for giving me this platform to be able to share the passion that I have for our community. And thank you for just for the work that you do in providing this safe space for us Pacifica people, because as you said, Marie, sometimes we're held back by our own fears. We're held back by our negative thinking and just how we've been raised. You just stay in the background. That's what you're good at. And so I just want to thank you both for allowing me to be able to share some of my experiences, and I pray some of my experiences will help encourage someone, or even plant the seed for others that are listening to this podcast. And I can only share what I've gone through. I can only share from the heart. And so I just want to thank you both, and wish you all the best as well in the coming future.
Hey, so that was awesome to hear from Karen Daniels about her journey through some pretty scary stuff and into some pretty inspirational stuff. What was your main takeaways, Marie?
Yeah, well, I mean, when we first approached Karen, she was saying, I'm not a public speaker, I'm shy and stuff like that. But, once she got going about her purpose, she really was on point on so many levels.
100%. We didn't need to ask much at all, but she's got a great story to tell.
That's right.
I think sometimes when we have somebody in our life, like her dad sounds like an amazing orator, and sometimes we can be either intimidated or inspired, or both, by those kind of figures in our life. But what I love about Karen is that she's picked it up and done something with it.
Yeah.
She's taken action.
Absolutely. And also she mentioned quite a lot of things. She unpacked a lot in sort of under half an hour, didn't
Yeah.
you know, she, first of all, it was her vulnerability, which has been life-changing. And although we didn't really sort of go out to highlight people's faith and spirituality, it just, when you're talking about purpose-empowered people, you can't help but actually come from a place of faith or a belief.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. And in our Pacific community, it's really statistically likely that we're going to come across people of faith because it is such a strong influence. But I think for the people that we've talked to so far, so Tiare last time and Karen this time, it's definitely more than just a cultural thing. It's something that's very personal and very motivating.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for Karen, it's life-threatening. You know, it was a diagnosis that really, as she mentioned, is a whole year of reflection. There's something about when our lives are at stake, you know, when we get news from the doctors that we're diagnosed with something life-threatening, something happens to us in her reflection, which was really evident in the way that she lives intentionally, transitioning from private sector to community, and really taking her gifting, her talent, her expertise and her passion, wrapping all that up into a course which really helps people overcome their depression and anxiety. And that's everywhere now, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think even if you're not diagnosed with depression or anxiety, some of that stuff sounds awesome. Classical music, going to the museum, going for walks. It sounds absolutely awesome.
That's right. And sometimes it's one of the things that she did mention after we finished the podcast is that never judge people, especially sometimes it's often, I think you mentioned there was a story between two men or two males. One was really outgoing, extrovert, really funny, and there was another guy who was the opposite, very quiet, unassuming, but just really, you know, like not really a extrovert. And it's often, we don't know what people are going through with mental health, especially these days as we look around. You know, obviously we're looking at, we're in a recession. You know, there's so many people in the public sector that they've lost their jobs, and just families having it tough, and individuals. So it's a really good reminder of mental health to, I think, not just to be kind and just, you know, people, just don't sweat the small stuff, as they say.
That's so true. And like, if we're in a good space, to try and be a safe space, a safe person for other people to confide in, because it's hard times. It's really hard times these days. Yeah. So, as just a human being, I got so much from what Karen was sharing. Yeah. And as somebody, so all of us play some sort of leadership role, even if it's within our family, within our faith community, within our businesses. And her thing was helping people to change from, you know, people who have conditions like depression, but all leadership is trying to help people to change. And so that advice, be vulnerable, be authentic, so good, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also love the fact that she, you know, there's a lot of, it's scary when you put yourself out there online, isn't it? Like it seems really easy for some, and it's not always easy for others, but you know, she really is taking you know, sort of looking at her comfort zone and also the uncomfortableness of even networking or venturing out or public speaking or even coming on podcasts like this or even creating one. So it's always hard with social media these days, because you know, you've got your positive feedbacks, but you know, you've got people that will always want to give, you know, their 2 cents about something, and they don't even know the person's lives, and so sometimes you don't really it's probably why a lot of people don't want to put themselves out there, right? And don't want to promote their services or businesses, but we really want to champion and say what a great, a courageous, just a beautiful human being Karen is, that she's also, you know, really smashing that and overcoming her fear of putting herself out there in her business and her service. Mind you, it is quite a new business.
Yes.
But it's not that she's been doing this for a long time, but just new in terms of putting herself out there online.
In this particular business, Thrive Together,
Yes.
it's quite new. And so part of what we do in this section after the interview is we go, if you're in a similar position, like you've used your skills and talents to create a business of some sort, you've taken action, awesome, congratulations, well done. The next step is to get strategic and plan. And there's a tool that we will be talking about in upcoming episodes, and we'll be sharing a few resources about it as well, and that's called the Lean Canvas.
That's right.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like to write business plans because they think, oh, I can't write. This actually just puts everything on one page.
Really handy, especially when when with Karen, we're obviously doing a little bit of sharing after what she shared, and our own reflection is that she's really honing in on her strengths, isn't she? This is health practitioner, this is
lived experience
as well. And with the one pager that you mentioned, the Lean Canvas, that's really, really good for small businesses, or if you're about to consider a side hustle, or when we're actually in our talent and our strengths, we can definitely be filling out one of those boxes on that one pager.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are many other things that often as small business owners or sole traders can trip up on, because there's just a lot to do as a small business owner.
Definitely, absolutely. And so we didn't invent the Lean Canvas. It was invented by a guy called Ash Moria.
That's right.
He in turn built it on the basis of a thing called the Business Model Canvas. They're slightly different from each other, but yeah, basically they act as a bit of a checklist to go, okay, for example, one of the things is market segments. So basically, who are you selling to? And then on the other side is problem. What is the problem that you're solving? And just recently I was doing one for one of our portfolio businesses, and we thought, oh, what about this bigger audience? There's more people in this audience. Problem, what problem are we solving? There's not really any problem. So you may have an audience in mind, but if they don't feel the need, you're going to really struggle to sell it. If you have a smaller group of people but they feel that need really strongly, then you'll be able to sell to them if you can come up with a solution to their problems.
Yeah, and just a disclaimer, it's a generic, what we're mentioning or sharing here is it's just one of many tools as a small business owner, isn't it? So to start off with, it's just really good to actually use the one page Lean Canvas, but it doesn't mean that there's a lot of detail that can go into a business plan. Then you can sort of go into the nitty-gritty of it, but it's sort of like a high level, and it touches on all the key things that often small business owners can perhaps trip over, or sometimes you're just bogged down by all the tactical day-to-day that you forget about the big picture things that you also need to be aware of.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll put a link to some information about the Lean Canvas in our show notes. And we're actually, in 2025, we're launching a community. And so if you're interested, we invite you to register your interest, get on the waiting list for the PEP Talk community. If you want to have conversations like this and be part of this community. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to come on the show, although we do love highlighting unsung heroes.
Yes.
But we know it's not for everybody. Some people don't like that. But if you just want to be part of that community of people who are taking action and have purpose empowering them, then go to, I'll better tell you how to do it, right? Go to pep.nz/peptalk. So that's pep.nz, or NZ if you're in America, /pep talk, all one word. So that's where you can register for the waitlist for the PEP Talk community.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. And so, was there anything else that you wanted to highlight from Karen's conversation?
I think there's so much more, but I think that's us for now. Yeah,
that's us for now.
Yeah, so thank you for subscribing to keep in touch with every single episode that we come out with. Thank you for your comments. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you for liking, because every little bit helps to make this more visible. The world needs more pep talk. So thank you, and we will see you next time. And next time we will give you a little clue for we're going to be entering the world of golf. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So yeah, thank you so much, and take care.
Yes, take care. Fast
Fast